to introduce to you Andrew Hall. Andrew and his wife Rachel are the student ministries pastors here at Oakdale Church. And I want to talk to Andrew today. We are focused on discipleship, and our whole goal is to disciple people who can then become those who will disciple others. And so we want to make disciple makers. So Andrew, I want to focus on parents of teenagers, or more importantly, I want to focus on teenagers, but the role that parents play in discipling their kids. So what's the number one thing, we're going to cut right to the chase, what's the number one thing that if a parent was sitting with you or a group of parents were sitting with you, you'd say, here's the number one thing I would want you to think about or to start doing so that you can disciple your kids?
Sure. So that one thing, if there's only one thing, it would be take some time in the week to dedicate to family worship. So have some sort of time where you as a whole family sit down and read the Bible and pray together.
So that would be your definition of the family worship is some devotional time? Is that what you're calling family worship?
Yes.
Okay. And so could they do that? Are you saying like over dinner, hey, every night that we can be together during dinner, we're going to just take the Bible out, have a little bit of time to read a passage or something, and then talk about it? Is that...
Exactly. Yeah, that's correct. And around the dinner table is fantastic, but you can also do it around the breakfast table. You can do it in the car on your way to and from somewhere.
Right.
Because that's one thing that I really appreciate about family worship that I've realized is in our super crazy, busy Maryland life, it is hard to find, it is hard to schedule something. But family worship is something that it only takes 10 minutes. It's really not hard. You can fit it in somewhere in the midst of your crazy schedule.
Why are you calling that worship as opposed to like a devotional time?
So mostly I'm calling it family worship because that's what we've called it in America for a couple of hundred years.
Okay.
George Whitefield preached a sermon that was well received in 1798 or something like that called The Duty of Family Worship.
Okay.
Yeah, so just it's an old term that I still like.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
So family worship, this time where parents, and I love what you just said about the busyness, they can do this in the car, on the way to lacrosse, or on the way to school, or whatever it is. You can just have some time where the scripture's read and where there's conversation. Now, kids are going to be anxious for this. I'm surprised a lot of kids aren't already saying, Mom and Dad, where's family worship? So inevitably there's going to be, oh, Mom, Dad, do we have to do this?
Right.
How do you help parents to work through their fears about that?
I think you work through your fears like most things. You give it a shot.
Okay.
You try it. You pay attention to what worked and what didn't work, and you adjust your strategy from day to day, week to week.
Okay.
I think one piece of it though is I think you say we're doing this. It's
not an option.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not flustered by the fact that my teenager doesn't want to do it.
Okay.
I'm the parent, and I've decided this is important, and we're doing it. So.
Michelle and I did family devotions in our family. We didn't call it family worship. We did family devotions with our kids. I would say mostly unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
So
it's hard. Discipline is hard.
Well, and here's the thing that we encountered. She and I come at this from such different points of view. So I'd be interested in, our kids are almost grown now, so most of them are grown. We've got a couple left in the house. But I was trying to come at it from the, let's have a lot of fun with this.
Okay.
And sometimes I think Michelle felt like I wasn't taking it seriously enough. I would often start with a question that I thought might intrigue them.
Yep.
Something kind of more of a, here's a topic, what do you guys think about this? And then take them to the scripture. She thought we should do what sounds like maybe it was a little bit more, I think she would be on your team here.
Okay.
Where she would say, let's just read through the scripture.
Yep.
Do you have a care which way parents would go to that?
Not specifically, no. I mean, you know your family, you know your kids far better than I do.
Yeah.
So you're going to sort it out something that works for you.
Okay.
But if you have no idea how to start, if you have no clue what even to begin with, my recommendation would be to read the Bible. Just read a passage, and maybe you're going to work through Mark but read something. And then discuss a few questions. What did you like about this passage? What did you not like about this passage? What did it teach us about God? What did it teach us about humans? what should we do because of what this passage says.
All right, so let me for those folks who are really new to the faith, and this is an experience they've never had in their own families. You said take a passage. Could you define what you mean more precisely by a passage? Is that a chapter? What would you say?
Sure, absolutely. So I think you could do a chapter of the Bible. Go to Mark chapter 1. Boom. The next day, Mark chapter 2. If you have some smaller kids, and use those little headings that most Bibles have, where they just sort of break a chapter down into even smaller sections. So you're reading, maybe 7 to 12 verses at a time. I think that would be just fine as well.
Do you have a translation you would recommend parents use?
So if you're, depending on the age of your kid, the NIV is written for a 6th grade reading comprehension level.
Okay.
So that sort of gives you a baseline. Something like the KJV is written for a 12th grade reading comprehension level. So it gives you a sense. If you have some little kids, I think that you could still find value in this, even if you were reading a good storybook Bible. That's not a strict translation.
Like more of a
like the Jesus Storybook Bible is a great one that I like a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so find the translation. Yeah, the NIV for 6th middle school, you could be using that all the way up through high school with perfectly good success. The NIRV is the New International Reader's Version, and it's like the NIV, but it's actually specifically for, I think, like a 3rd grade reading comprehension.
Oh, wow. I need to get that one then.
Yeah, so
I'm already at the NIV, but maybe I should go down a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so family devotions, family worship, once a day, sometime during the day.
Yep.
Both parents should be involved? Or?
Absolutely, they both should. If at all possible in your schedule, and I believe it's possible, both parents should be there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And we did a thing for a while. We got these little NIV. It was just Proverbs, I think. It was Navigators, I think, put it out. Mm-hmm. We thought, you know what? We're gonna just basically read through. And here's how we did. This is another thing we tried. We tried everything.
Sure,
possible.
good. Okay.
But basically, we would just read one of the Proverbs, and we had the kids. Sometimes we would do sort of around the circle, like, all right, you take, one verse, and we would just go around. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that didn't work well. We would just read it. And we just read the proverb, and we would say, any questions, thoughts, whatever. Mm-hmm. And if they were like, nope, we would be, okay. And that was it.
Gotcha.
Is that okay for you, or do you think that there needs to be some level of discussion? But if they're reading the Word and giving them an opportunity to interact with it, even if they don't at first interact, still okay?
Yeah, I think it's still valuable because the reality is you're their parent all of the time, So even if they don't have a thought in that one moment when you said, okay, this is family worship time, something's going to come up later. The next day you're going to be driving around and they're going to, it's all still going to be rolling around in their head and they're going to come up with the question later.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Sounds good. So family worship once a day, sometime, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter how. Mm-hmm. One passage, which would either be a heading or a chapter of a book. Do you have a book that you'd recommend? You said Mark. Would you say start with Mark?
Yeah, I think Mark is good. Mark is the action-packed gospel.
Okay.
When you read through Mark, it seems like when Mark was writing it down, he was just so exuberant to fill everything in, right?
Okay.
He was just like, and I got to tell you about this, and then Jesus did this, and then Jesus did this, and he's just so excited. So that's a good one.
Okay.
Luke would also be a nice gospel to start with. Very detailed, very storyteller Luke that he is.
And then you would say parents don't have to have all the answers, right?
No,
so,
none of us have all the answers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if they're going, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to read the Bible, they're going to ask me questions I don't know, then you're going to say, don't worry about it. And even if there's a good question that you don't know the answer to, they can always find the answer and say, hey, I'll look into that and come back, right?
Absolutely, yep.
All right. Andrew, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
One great thing that you can do to disciple your kids, family worship every day. Thanks for tuning in with